This thermos bottle reminds me of a story about two of my very favorite Cajun people, Boudreaux and Thibodeau. Thibodeau showed up to work one day, and he had one of these in his hand, and Boudreaux said, "Thibodeau, what that is you got?" Thibodeau said, "Man, it's called a thermos bottle." Boudreaux said, "A thermos bottle? What it is? What you do with that?" Thibodeau said, "Man, it's amazing." He said, "You put something that's hot in there, and it keep it hot." He said, "You put something cold in there, and it keep it cold." Boudreaux said, "Whoo, man, that is amazing." He said, "Thibodeau, tell me what it is you got in there now." And he said, "Well, right now, I got a cup of soup and 2 popsicles." The Cajuns they actually love the humor. It was funny, I knew a handful of Cajun jokes and was doing a little research for this project and went to several sites that are run by Cajuns who have a great sense of humor about themselves. So if you're wondering if any of this is offensive to them, it's generally not. They are a good-humored people. And I think about them a lot. I knew quite a few when we lived in Louisiana, and when I see things, I'm reminded of certain stories from these favorite Cajuns of mine. And when I look back at the corner of this table back there, and I see Brother James and Miss Gina, and there's so many children. Let's see, there's 1, 4, 12. I'm reminded of the time when Boudreaux's wife was about to have a baby, and she said, "Boudreaux, it's time. I need you to call the doctor." And so Boudreaux was a nervous wreck, and he called the doctor, and he said, Doctor, Marie, she's in labor. It's time. The contractions are close." And the doctor said, "Tell me, is this her first child?" He said, "No, sir, this is her husband." When I look around and see all the work that was done putting together these presentations, I think about the work, the labor, the building that took place, and I'm reminded that of a time when Boudreaux and Thibodeau were about to do some work, and so they decided they needed some lumber. So they drove down to the local lumber yard, and Boudreaux said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to stay out here in the truck. And Thibodeau, you go inside and get what we need, and I'll be right out there." And Thibodeau said, "Oh, okay, I think I can do that." And he went inside, and the clerk saw him come up and said, "Yes, can I help you?" And Thibodeau said, "Yes, we need us some of them, what they call 4x2s. And the clerk looked a little puzzled at him, and he said, "Do you mean 2x4s? And Thibodeau said, "Well, wait, just a minute. Let me make sure." So he shuffled out, went out to Boudreaux to make sure, and come back in. And he said, "Yeah, that's it." He said, "Them 2x4s, that's what we be needing." And he said, "Oh, that's great." He said, the clerk told him, he said, "We got plenty of them." He said, "So tell me this, how long you going to be needing them?" And he said, "Oh, I can tell you that. We're going to need them a long time. We're building a camp." See, he wasn't talking about the measurement, Rex. He was, Boudreaux and Thibodeau were all the time working hard. In fact, they worked for the city of New Orleans. And I'm reminded of a time another friend of mine named Trosclair said he was looking out the office window, and he saw Thibodeau and Boudreaux at their daily job for the city of New Orleans. Trosclair didn't know that's what they did at the time, but he said, "I watched them in amazement." And Thibodeau would go along, and he would dig a hole 2 foot deep. And Boudreaux would come right behind him and fill that hole right back in with all that dirt. And Thibodeau would step a little farther around, and he would dig another hole 2 foot deep. And Boudreaux would be right behind him, and he'd shovel that dirt right back in there and pat it down nice and pretty. Trosclair said, "I watched that go on for a little while, and I couldn't stand it. So I went down to talk to him, and I said, 'Thibodeau, Boudreaux.' And they said, 'Yes, sir.' And he said, 'I've been watching you boys, and y'all working very, very hard, and you obviously look pretty good at what you do. But I don't quite understand what the plan is here, because you're digging them holes, and Boudreaux go right back and put the dirt back in.' And when he said that, Thibodeau fell out laughing. He said, 'Oh, you just don't understand.' He said, Trahan was supposed to be here with us planting trees, but he's sick today." This is the point where He checks his cue cards. Did that. Oh, I know. General Jackson down there, who is, you blew my plan because I was going to refer to you as Trooper Henderson, but now you're General Jackson. Trooper Henderson told me one time when he was down there in New Orleans and just happened for some reason to be in the dispatch center of the Mississippi Highway Patrol. I don't know why he was in the dispatch center, but the phone rang and everybody was busy, so Trooper Henderson picked up the phone and it was Boudreaux. And Boudreaux said, I need some help, some kind of bad. My partner Thibodeau has done collapsed on the street. And so Trooper Henderson, being well trained, he said, well, tell me where you are and we'll come get some help to him right now. And Boudreaux said, okay, we are at the end of Chapatula Street. And Trooper Henderson said, can you spell that for me, please? And there was silence. Hello, sir, can you spell that for me, please? Silence. Sir, are you there? Are you there? After a long while, Boudreaux come back on the phone and he said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to drag him around to Oak Street. You come help him there. Trooper Henderson actually knew Boudreaux one time because he gave him a traffic ticket for having his turn signals not working on his car. So after he had to pay that fine, he went to go get his turn signals fixed. He was out in the yard and he was working on it, and he thought he had it right, but he couldn't get out the car and go around and look and make sure he was doing it. Thibodeau happened to be walking down the street. And he said, Thibodeau! He got right in front of his car. He said, stop right there. He said, tell me, are my blinkers working? And Thibodeau said, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You'll probably get that about midnight tonight. It'll sink in. Oh, let's see. We make fun, but some of these guys have engineering degrees and they're really talented at building complicated pieces of machinery. I'm reminded about the time when Boudreaux built a space shuttle in his backyard. And Thibodeau said, man, that's a pretty fancy looking thing you got right there. What you going to do with that? He said, man, I'm going to get in that thing and I'm going to fly to the sun. Thibodeau said, fly to the sun. Boudreaux, you can't fly to the sun. It'll burn you up. Don't you know that? Boudreaux said, Thibodeau, do you think I'm stupid? I'm going to go at night shaft. Did y'all notice all this lovely food we got right here? That's some beautiful arrangement. We got some food, and we're going to partake in that food here in just a minute. But first, I'm going to look back there at Miss Kim and make sure that's what's next. She says yes. No, yes, no, yes, no. Let me tell you, we're going to start with a steamboat salad. Ooh, boy. And fresh French bread. We're going to have some swampy sweet tea to wash it all down. Then we're going to have us some Crescent City red beans and rice. Make you want to slap somebody like we used to say down home. And we're going to have us some of that Who Dat gumbo. I should have had my Who Dat hat on instead of my Go Tigers hat on. But it's Go Tigers gumbo too. So, James, you might not want none. Then we're going to follow that up with some Mississippi mud pie. Y'all ready to eat some good food? Brother James, would you mind thanking the Lord our God for the food that He has provided for us? And then, before you do that, though, brother, Miss Kim, we did not talk about giving people instructions on what to do.
They are to come up there, is that right? Now, some of the meal will be served by the host there.
Okay, so you come up, just don't go on this side of the boat, right? You want to stay on this side of the boat. Everybody with me? This side of the boat. Yes. This side of the boat, the blinkers don't work. No. Yes. No. It's yours, Brother James.